such fun. But I think we're going to be underway in just a second.
Yeah, so Calosso on the left versus Alix Hatfield on the right, and it looks like the Hatfields were the pioneers of this particular breed, which also has Nimble Mongoose, which I think is a nice nice touch right now.
Yeah, at the Invitational, I think is where Nimble Mongoose actually sort of picked up. Patrick Sullivan had it in his Rug Tempo deck. He basically cut all of the creatures that could be targeted and replaced them, except for Snapcaster Mage. He replaced all the creatures that could be targeted and played Nimble Mongoose and Blurred Mongoose main deck instead. But I think people kind of laughed at the Blurred Mongoose a little bit. But so Alix is going to be on the play, leads with Volcanic and Delver. Calosso doesn't force or anything, obviously. I think it's a pretty bad play to...
now, are they going to board out Force of Wills?
I think so. It becomes a pretty grindy matchup, I think, after
Very
game one.
attrition-based?
Yeah, I mean, with these Submerges, I mean, you can buy yourself a pretty reasonable amount of time. And I don't think that's like a card you want in your deck anymore. You know, every card is like some small...
Every card is good. You don't want to spend 2 cards to get rid of one.
Exactly. I mean, what are you going to pitch? Like your, you know, Brainstorm to counter a Delver of Secrets on turn 1? Like that? Yeah.
No, it would seem like just fighting over Tarmogoyf's the only time where it would even be worth it.
Right, but you still have the
counterbalance.
Yeah, you still have like the Spell Snares and Dismembers and Submerges, so Tarmogoyf's good, but he's not even really that good. But
I wouldn't be surprised if they go different directions after sideboarding. If one of them stays away from counterbalance and Hatfield switches it on him, brings in the counterbalance just to mess with him, just to teach him some new tricks, and then boards it out for game 3 because Calosso in game 3 thinks, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to board it in.
That would be pretty awesome. I would like to see that. But Calosso waits till the upkeep here, which is actually a little relevant. Because if Alix has days or something, he'd want him to... well, actually, no, that he probably should have done it on his turn. Because now Alix gets to use the mana twice, so maybe that was a slight mistake. But I guess he's digging for a daze here, which would counter the Lightning Bolt, and then probably flip the Delver because he just brainstormed in response. So
yeah, I mean, Delver is pretty much always just 3-2, like, within a turn, right? Like, in Legacy?
Yeah,
just because of the high volume of ways to set up the top of your library.
Yeah, and like you said, 19 lands, you know, like 14 creatures, and then the rest are instants and sorcery. So Alix does have the daze. He dazes the bolt, flips the Delver, and...
Yeah, it does seem...
Yeah, I mean, if he had just done it on his own turn, he wouldn't have been able. Yeah, he wouldn't have been able to brainstorm to flip it. He might have gotten the raw flip, which happens occasionally too. So you never know. But Alix disrupts him a little bit with Wasteland, but I think Calosso is just gonna search up another Volcanic probably and just bolt the insect while Alix doesn't have anything in play. So
how big of an issue is it that these decks only have 3 sources of red and 3 sources of green, like actual 3 sources, so that, you know, 3 Wastelands could completely cut off a color for the rest of the game?
It's and against some matchups where the games go pretty long, it's very relevant. However, they do have like their own stifles to counter opposing Wastelands and stuff like that. And I mean, in general, if they're drawing that many lands, they're probably not going to be winning the game anyway.
Okay.
I mean, those help you get out of it, but I don't know.
So, he doesn't like what he sees with Ponder.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious why he played the Wasteland first. I guess he's playing around Daze again, I guess, but I assume his plan here is to just second main Wasteland.
Dude, do you think there's any possibility that it's time for Disrupt to come back anytime soon?
I love Disrupt,
but I think a sweet card.
Yeah, I think Force Spike would be better though, just because it allows you to counter cards like Neither Reliquary, and if you're on the play, you can get a Delver or a Tarmogoyf pretty easily. I was always a pretty huge proponent of Force Spike and Psychotog decks, like back in old Extended, like Urza's Block backwards or whatever. So, but Alix unfortunately does not have another land here, so Calosso is just brainstorming away, and I think he's probably going to start getting.
As soon as he starts applying some pressure, it's going to start going from bad to worse for Hatfield.
Yeah, it looks like he's just all answers. I can't see one of the cards in his hand, but it's like Brainstorm, Daze, Stifle, Wasteland, Ponder.
Yeah, but that's a great hand because...
No, it's fine. I mean, Alix isn't doing anything for a very long time.
And now he's holding up Stifle, so he can stifle the first fetch land that comes along.
Yep.
And then he can actually Wasteland the second, the first dual land that comes along.
Yep.
I mean, he's just playing a real mana denial game.
Yeah.
And the thing about all these cantrips is that, if you're the guy who's a little bit ahead at first, you can just keep, snowballing that into a better and better situation for yourself because Hatfield's Ponders and Brainstorms are just rotting.
Yeah, he's getting a little stuck here. The one of the things that Calosso just did that's actually like a minor thing that people do all the time in Legacy is he waited until the end of Alix's turn to fetch rather than waiting till his upkeep where he had an extra open mana. And I think a lot of that kind of stigma comes from playing with Ravnica duels. And if a player has played all of the Ravnica duels, you fetch at the end of their opponent's turn a lot of times, so you get so it doesn't deal you damage. But in Legacy, like it's never going to deal you damage other than the fetch. So there's literally no reason not to wait until your upkeep, and it allows you to just have an extra open mana in case of any
Maybe you have to fight over something.
Right,
this is a habit to be in.
Yeah,
I agree with you completely on that. I mean, we've been seeing that come up sometimes, even with when you're fetching up basics, like even in Modern or Extended. In general, you just want to do it in your own turn.
Yeah. So Calosso flips the Delver here with his Ponder, revealing a Dismember. Alix still is. He's moving to his discard step, so this game's pretty much over.
Well, I mean, what if Alix? I mean, if he draws a red mana, like if he, I mean, I guess he doesn't have Mountain.
Well, he has to draw a. He has to draw a non. He has to draw a non-red fetch. Or I'm sorry, a fetch, a non-fetch red source, which is the
3 volcanics.
Yeah, but I think he's already had 1 or 2 of his volcanics wasteland. I think they were both volcanics that got destroyed. So, I mean,
It's a bad spot.
This is not looking good for Alix, obviously. So
now he can actually counter the first wasteland if he plays a volcanic, and then just ships the turn. Colosso goes wasteland your volcanic, and then he goes brainstorm in response. Daze my brainstorm.
Right.
That's a hard way to do it, though.
Right. Yeah, well, Alix tries to go for a fetch. Colosso stifles. I don't know what's in Alix's hand, but I think if
it's mostly Chain Lightnings.
Okay, if he had a Force Will, I think he would have 100% used it. So
yeah,
could be wrong. So
Alix continues to miss on land.
Yep. I think it should be. I think Alix is either at 8 or at 5 right now.
7.
He's at 7. Oh yeah, he fetched right.
So Alix at the point of discarding Chain Lightning.
Yep, and he's gonna hit him to 4, Bolt, and then Snapcaster Bolt. So
yeah, and that's it. So we moved to game 2, and we're gonna find out. I mean, there's no question that Submerge and Red Elemental Blast will be at the top of each of these players' to-do list, so to speak. But the question is, will either of them, straight up bust a rhymes and switch it on them? Like are we gonna see Counterbalance top or not?
Yeah.
I guess the textbook is not, but I mean. These two gentlemen are both capable of anything. One is a master strategist that is known for doing the unlikely, and the other one is clinically insane. I'll leave it as an exercise to the reader to determine which is which.
So, kind of an interesting situation happened with David Thomas, who was playing Rug a few months ago. He won an Open recently.
Deck?
Yeah, a Rug Delver deck. He won an Open right as the deck was starting to become more and more popular. And one of the strategies he used in a matchup against a Bug Snapcaster deck was to wasteland his Underground Seas and then Surgical Extraction them. And then he was not able.
So that he was just completely locked out of the color.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, yeah. So in my opinion, the only things they really be bringing in here are probably the 3 Submerge, and Divining Top might actually just be good because it helps you just fix your draws.
But isn't it so mana intensive?
I mean, yes and no, but I think if Calosso, if you notice on his side of the board, he was flooded. He had 5 or 6 lands.
A top would have been pretty good.
A top would have been ridiculous. Alix had his top, but he had no lands. So in the games where it comes down to who draws too many lands, top would be basically just a Ponder every single turn. You have how many fetch lands are they playing?
8.
8. Yeah, you have 8 fetch lands to go with the tops. So, I mean, they already have 1 main deck. I don't really see why they would.
Ponder to reshuffle.
Yeah, I think whoever's on the draw here is probably going to be siding out Stifle. That card is way better on the play because you can stick your either turn 1 play or you can stifle their fetch land on the first turn if they go for a turn 1 play.
And what do you think about doing something crazy boarding out Delver? You board out the Delver, you board in the tops, and you switch it and you become a control deck with Counterbalance tops so you make their bolts and their Chain Lightnings real bad.
I mean, that would be pretty sweet, but I think the problem still lies that whoever has the Delvers is if I'm on
bolted, though.
I guess that's a decent point, but if I'm playing the aggro control deck, I always want to be the one who stays in the aggro mode. Because when you switch to the control mode, your deck is not really set up to do those kinds of things very well. I mean, like you said, you're only playing 19 lands. 4 of them are Wasteland, and you have stuff like Stifle in your deck, right, to try to tempo them out. So if you don't have the cards that allow you to tempo them out, then like what is your deck actually doing? Like what's your end game? And
just going counterbalance on the top.
yeah, and if they do that, sure. I mean, that would be pretty interesting to see.
Because like you've got Submerge, Bolt, and then either Chain Lightning or Dismember, and Red Elemental Blast. So you've got tons of answers to the other guy's Delver. It's not like, I mean, the Delver is obviously sweet, especially if the other person's locked out, but counterbalance top would be also. I don't know. Fair. I mean, this could be crazy. Obviously, this is just crazy speculation on my part, but yeah. I mean, I love a counterbalance more than most.
I actually played a really sweet counterbalance deck in St. Louis a few weeks ago, or I guess like a month and a half ago or something. Jerry built it. It was 4 colors. White was just for 1 Oblivion Ring main deck and 4 Swords of Plowshares to basically just be able to kill Tarmogoyf and Neither Reliquary.
Sure.
And then use Punching Fired everything else they played, and then counter-topped them just like to death. And the deck was really sweet. We added 1 Intuition to go along with like a Life from the Loam Wasteland package.
And Grove. Too,
yeah, and then you like Grove Punishing Fire off the Intuition was another thing.
Loam, Grove, Punishing Fire.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. And yeah, we did have the 1 Wasteland to just like randomly mana screw control decks and stuff like that. It was really good. And plus, they would just help deal with problematic lands like.